Okay.
Right, I'm Gillian and I was born in Bradford in Yorkshire, 1951. And when I was there, Bradford was still the centre of the world's woolen industry. So the big wool exchange in Bradford was where all the wool dealings of the world were done, centre of the world's woolen industry. And then in 1975 I moved to Scotland to work with children with learning difficulties. And I discovered when I went to Aberdeen that Aberdeen was becoming the oil capital of Western Europe, at least the oil capital of Britain, because at the end of the 60s they had started drilling wells in the North Sea and they were bringing oil from the North Sea into Aberdeen. So I was a volunteer at this school for handicapped children, and I learned that there was going to be this international oil exhibition, and I think it was the first one, 1975 or 76. So I went on my little bicycle about 7 miles. I cycled there because I had very little money because I was a volunteer, and I left my bicycle with a policeman to look after my bike. And I went to the oil exhibition. Now in 2019 there's a big building there, but then it was just beginning. So it was like a tented city, it was a canvas city for this exhibition, just in canvas tents, very good quality. So I went to the front door and I said, I want to come and see the oil exhibition. They said, have you got a pass? Because people who were working got a pass to go. I said, oh no, I haven't got a pass. And they said, well, you will need £25. Well, I didn't have £25 because my pocket money was about £5 a week. So I thought, oh, no, I haven't got £25. So I thought, well, so I walked round the back, and it was no security, and I just got under the canvas and went to look at the oil exhibition, and it was full of engineers and people and when I want to, I'm very quick at absorbing information that I want to absorb. Of course, I'm not an engineer or a mathematician, you know, so I couldn't understand the intricate maths or engineering, but I learnt really what, I didn't call it this at the time, but I learnt the geopolitics of the oil, although I wouldn't have used that expression at the time. I simply learnt where it came from, how it was extracted, and
what was being done with it.
And what's being done with it. Because before then, I don't know, oil must have, anyway. So then, I really had a sort of brainwave or something, or some huge intuition came. And I had a kefir, a red and white kefir, that a very good Danish friend of mine had once given me. And it's very useful for cycling in Scotland because it's cold, so I'd wrapped it round my neck to get to this exhibition. So anyway, and I knew that a kefir was what the people in these countries where the oil came from wore. So I wrapped it round my head. I was really bursting with this sort of inner knowledge that I got, and I wrapped it round my head, and I stood at high places, I stood on chairs and tables, and I made a platform for myself because I had to express this inner urge feeling that I had to all these male engineers, and I probably use quite strong language, and I might even have sworn sometimes, because sometimes, which is not very good, but sometimes to get men's attention you have to say something. So I got their attention, and I said very clearly, of course it's a long time ago, I don't know exactly the words I used, but I said the gist of it was that this oil does not belong to us. The earth does not belong to us. This oil is a precious gift that belongs to all of us. It's been created over a long history of the evolution of the earth. It comes from trees and it becomes oil. And I just knew somehow that this, if it wasn't shared, if it wasn't brought to the surface and used fairly, and distributed fairly, and shared fairly and kindly, that we were going to have wars and disasters. I knew it, and I was sort of passionate, but not angry, but very definite and very strong and very passionate. And every single engineer that was there at that time will not forget my impassioned speech to them, to say, you have to share this valuable resource. It does not belong to us, it does not belong to you, it belongs to the earth, and what belongs to the earth must be shared, otherwise there'll be disaster after disaster after disaster. Now, and then I quoted the words, I had to paraphrase the words of Chief Seattle, the Native American Indian, the First Nation Indian, who had to sell his lands to the white settlers. He had no choice because the buffalo had been slaughtered, the lands had been taken, he had no choice. And he said, when he signed the documents and handed over his land, and they were given a stupid little remnant of land for theirs, which had no more buffalo, he said, not until the last fish has died, not until the last drop of water has gone, not until the last tree has died, will we realise that we are all interconnected. And that's what I left them with. And so then I took my keffiyeh off, wrapped it round my neck, and said thank you at the main door. Thank you at the main door, and went to pick up my bicycle. And one of the first dreadful things that happened in Scotland before all the wars in the Middle East was the Piper Alpha disaster, because these oil rigs are amazing engineering things, and of course it's cheaper if you don't do the proper safety. It's cheaper if you cut corners and don't do the proper safety. So one of the first terrible things was that the safety regulations for the Piper Alpha oil platform hadn't been done properly, and it was to cut costs, and it blew up and it killed a lot of people. I can't remember the number, but it killed a lot of people. It's the first big oil platform disaster because they cut corners because of the cost, and it killed people. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know that the wars were going to happen, but I did know, I could tell that this was an amazing resource that was going to lead to wars and disaster.